This is your Chargers linebacker, Deion Henley, and you're tuning in with Chargers Unleashed.
Welcome to another edition of Chargers Unleashed. Jake Hefner and Wolkenstein here with you from the LAFB Network. This is your first time tuning in to the show. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube, but also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Dan Wolkenstein, good morning to you. And holy shit, Dan. We are just mere days away from Chargers training camp opening. We're in the thick of July. There is actual football to be played at the end of this month. I don't care if it's preseason or not.
Nope.
Slowly but surely, we're getting there. Welcome to everybody. Happy Sunday to all of you, whatever it is you're doing, wherever it is that you're joining us from. Happy to have you all on here as we gear up for a training camp primer, the biggest storylines as we head into Chargers training camp next week. Dan Wolkenstein, good morning. Happy Sunday. How are you, sir?
Good morning. Happy Sunday to you. I am great. Sun is shining. It's not crazy hot, which I'm grateful for. And Chargers got some news. We get to start camp a whole week before everybody else. This is fantastic. And Chargers got football this month, which is wild. Lots of storylines for this training camp, and lots of them have been talked about. Jake and I wanted to do our best to come up with the ones that we think were the biggest of them. Also opening this thing up for folks to have comments, what you guys and gals think about this Chargers training camp storyline agenda. Jake, I have an important question for you.
I know where it's going.
It's been a minute since I've been able to ask you this question. Super, super important.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to know.
Oh, I'm sure.
Are your sleeves down to your wrists?
You know what? It's Sunday morning. It's 8:30. Okay. Not all of us have the luxury to look as good as Dan Wolkenstein does.
Oh,
it is,
get out of here.
You know, his Hawaiian polo. But no. This hoodie does not go down to the wrists. Okay. I don't really give a shit what anybody has to say about it either.
Good. And then also, how are you?
I'm doing just fine. Thanks.
Good. We got a lot of folks in the chat here. Trey and Najee from Daniel Bridges. That sounds like a storyline. Definitely going to get to a couple of those. Tyler Thompson's got a question about the guaranteed contract and holding out from Trey Harris, which we'll get to. Steven Jajo. Good morning, boys and Chargers fam. How's everyone this morning? Let's go and bolt up. Lots about Trey Harris here in the questions here. Oliver says good morning. Forgotten Locale, front of the show, says good morning. Whole bunch of folks in here. But as we get this thing going, Jake, important. Daniel Bridges is telling everyone the most important things about this morning. Sun's out, guns out.
See,
from the Hefner residents.
People who appreciate the short sleeve hoodie.
Or just how swole Jake is on a Sunday morning.
That is not true. It's not true.
Folks in the chat, what's your morning beverage of choice? Jake, I'll let you kick this thing off. We're going to start.
Oh, considering that I woke up this morning running out of my pre-workout powder, saying to myself, shit, my morning is off to a great start. So I literally just had to go straight to the gym and grab one of their Ghost energy drinks just to get some caffeine in me.
Ghost energy drink. I don't know what that is.
That was more than enough than what I needed for this morning. Hence why I don't have anything with me this morning.
Jake is jacked, both visually and his metabolism. Black coffee, says Oliver.
My metabolism sucks. I'm 40 years old.
Yeah, and you've got freaking arms of steel. Victor McComb says Rockstar. I don't know how people drink energy drinks in the morning anymore. I mean, I'm too old for that, but good job, Jake.
Why do you think my metabolism sucks?
And Brad, and as like water is wet, sky is blue. Brad talks about the bong.
Yes, Spicoli.
Forgotten Locale says Saratoga. Daniel Bridges with the Major Dickinson's Pete's Black Coffee. Let's do one that I don't think is really a camp storyline, but we'll just start this thing off because it's fun. Everybody's talked about it for weeks on end. Last predictions for uniforms. Anything's changed for you?
Yeah, we get the uniforms, on the 15th, so Tuesday, we get them finally revealed. We talked about this on last week's live show. again, I still think that they're going to do something cool with the dark navy, kind of harken back to the old San Diego colors. That's where I feel that everything's going. I had mentioned I don't think it's going to be yellow just because of the standpoint of thinking of that old Thursday night game where I think some people had talked about it in here that it was the Bills and the Rams where people literally the announcer was saying like it looks like ketchup and mustard out there on the field. So I think that the Chargers are going to go that route with the all yellow uniforms. But no, my final bet is that it's going to be something really cool with the navy color.
Yeah, nothing's really changed for me, honestly. I'd be shocked if they don't do a navy, and something with like a white lightning would be cool. Like something with that brand, all whites. Be cool. I don't know. It'd be fun. Brad says, get rid of the white helmets and go black to blue already. Yeah, I'm down. Tyler Thompson, white monster, and a core protein shake. That's going to give you the shits later.
That's a good way to start the morning. Let me tell you what. Holy shit.
I've got to say, yeah, exactly. See, right? Pun intended. So looking at this, we can go a few different ways. And I think Chargers fans have been used to the plague that is what can go wrong will go wrong sometimes for Chargers players and at camp and all that jazz. So like we'll preface this entire episode with the knocks on wood, right? Like we're all on that train together. But I think it is a big storyline at a macro level. So let's focus on the macros and then we'll kind of go to like position groups, if you will. And I think the biggest storyline is health for this team. Like you see news come out from Najee Harris with the unfortunate fluke accident with the fireworks. Apparently things should be fine for the start of the season. We'll see. Things have kind of trickled in. The whole story is wild. But you saw last year with Justin Herbert and stuff going on with his plantar fascia. And then you saw Junior Colston. And then last year you kind of saw a ripple effect of a bunch of injuries. Hayden Hurst gets hurt. You see DJ Chark really never show up because of injuries. A whole bunch, honestly. And so for me, you know, the Ben Herbert effect, we hope. But just get through camp healthy, I think is the biggest of all of them. Like if you could just fast forward to week 1 in Brazil and your squad's there, that's a win, in my opinion. Jake, another macro. What say you?
Man, that seems like it's always kind of the underlying,
of course,
storyline with this team. Doesn't matter what year it is or what we're talking about. Yeah, you just want to get through training camp and preseason ready for week 1 as healthy as possible. But there is a lot of underlying storylines woven into everything else that we're looking forward to when we get training camp underway here in the next few days. But yeah, health is always paramount. And I feel like last year, despite the things that you just started off by saying, in general, was probably better than most previous Chargers training camp, i.e. Ben Herbert in that circumstance. And I feel like it'll be better this year, just when we're talking about practices, obviously, knock on wood. Dan and I have been there in person when we have, God, I can't remember, Dan, if it was the second day, the first day or second day of training camp. I remember Donald Parham on the sidelines that year.
Yep.
And just was never able to get it right after that. So you never want to see anything like that happen. So go into camp, go into the next few weeks of preseason as healthy as possible for week 1.
Yeah. And honestly, you know, sticking to the macro theme for a sec, like this rookie class has been talked about ad nauseum about how committed they are and how dedicated they are and how impressive some of these guys have been so far, you know, some of which we haven't seen yet, but there's a lot of talk about these guys, right? And they got a lot to come up to reach the levels that we saw last year from some of the rookies. But in general, this team should look different. Like this team should look different this training camp than last, both personnel and scheme. We haven't seen a Jim Harbaugh, Greg Roman offense with Justin Herbert where he has a plethora of weapons before. We haven't seen that. We haven't seen an effective run game before. We haven't seen a physically dominant offensive line before. All of that, in theory, should be seen. We haven't seen athletic pass catchers at the tight end position to complement a blocking tight end. Oh, I'm sorry. Also,
does Avery have an opinion on the storyline as well?
Avery has an opinion. She'll tell you later. But there's a lot that should look different. And so, from a macro sense, I'm curious to see, especially on the offense, like what will actually be different? Like, will we see more downfield plays from the tight end, from the wide receiver position? Will we see Justin scrambling more? Will we see more of the goal line offense that actually could be effective for once, right? Like, could we see some of this stuff play out? Yeah, it's only camp. Yes, it's only preseason, whatever. But those things will be simulated in camp. And you can start to see glimpses of that. We saw some of it last year, but not much. Not much. And so now with the weapons that they have, you should, in theory, be able to see a lot more of these things that I think Chargers fans and pundits, analysts have been clamoring for. A healthy Justin Herbert, a plethora of weapons, a run game. Remember what Greg Roman said. Imagine that, right? It's going to look a lot different. It should, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, speaking of things that were simulated, I still remember when Jordan McFadden was put in as a fullback in training camp, and then all of a sudden he motioned out to tight end. I was standing next to Steve Haglund, and both of us are going like, wait, what the hell is this all of a sudden? And ultimately that led to Scott Matlock taking over the fullback position for the regular season. But yeah, I think you're going to see some wild stuff be simulated out there. But to your point, Dan, every single one of those aspects of the offense, the answer is yes to all of them. Remember, the Chargers ran, what was it? I can't remember if it was the most or the second most play action last year. And that was when you were devoid of the weapons outside of Ladd McConkey. Think about what you're going to be able to produce if you run it at that same type of clip with the weapons that you have now on top of a running game that could actually produce.
That would be nice. Folks in the chat, Jake, we got a lot of French going on here. Looks like there's some Canadians here that are having a side conversation. I have no idea what they're talking about. But that reminds me, sidebar. You can tell I'm a SoCal kid. I went to Montreal. This is years ago. And, I knew they spoke French, but you can't take the SoCal out of me. And so me and a few buddies went to Montreal. We're walking down the street and someone says something to me and I reply back in Spanish. And in that moment, I realized I'm not in Mexico and I don't know French.
Oh, it was in that moment that you realized?
Yeah, that was it. And I felt that was one of the most embarrassing moments of my life was I replied in Spanish and I'm like, oh God, no, I just did that.
I thought you were going to speak, French well, just with a terrible
Absolutely not.
Much like Brad Pitt in Inglourious Bastards when he tries to speak Italian and you just can't take the Tennessee accent out of it and it sounds horrible.
No, not at all. Not at all. So let's get into it. I think a lot of folks, we should probably start this thing off at the top. I think a lot of folks are curious about the holdout with Trey Harris. Are you worried about that? What are your thoughts on that?
If it was just Trey Harris, I'd be worried about it. And I get it for any rookie coming into their first year and ones that have expectations as it is with a wide receiver that a lot of people, including myself, are expecting to step up immediately. You never want to lose any time when it comes to training camp. However, there's 30 other second round rookies that are doing the exact same thing. And if everybody wants to point to who's to blame for this, we can point at Houston Texans GM Nick Caserio, because he had the bright idea to give Jaden Higgins, the 34th overall pick, a fully guaranteed contract, which then the Browns decided to follow suit with linebacker Carson Schlesinger, who was the 33rd overall pick, and gave him a fully guaranteed deal.
I don't understand why they did that. But I get why every other rookie wants it.
Hey, we've heard of other fully guaranteed contracts.
How'd that turn out?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, did you see the news? Browns are going to be Browns. Did you see the news on their running back?
I did.
God, I don't understand how these players who are making millions, and all you got to do is just not be stupid. I don't know.
Anyways, back to the Trey Harris discussion. No, I'm not too worried about it. I mean, I think that this is something that I think Brett Coleman actually said this best, that 31 other GMs are going to be coming for Nick Caserio and next year's combine because of this shit.
Yep.
that he has stirred up with all of this. So no, in the big picture of things, I'm not worried about it. I don't foresee it being something that's going to be prolonged for him. I would hope that it's going to be resolved for this next coming week at some point. I'm not going to bet money on that. So I'll predict that the first day of training camp, we won't see Trey Harris, but hopefully by the end of the first week that there is some resolution to this, because it's not just a situation that the Chargers have to deal with now. You're seeing it from 30 other squads that they're dealing with their respective 30 second round picks. So, it's unfortunate. It's definitely not something that I want to see, considering how much I am hyped for Trey Harris this year, as I know a lot of you are. But at the same time, it only takes one rogue GM to do something like this that ruins the party for everyone else. True.
Yeah, and there's a lot of storylines for this wide receiver group. But quick storyline, folks. I think you've seen. We've been busy here, and we wanted to make an entrance real quick. This is the first time that Jameson Jett is able to say hi to everybody. He's wearing his Chargers swag, kind of. Got the navy and yellow. Jameson, do you want to say anything about this Chargers team? How are you feeling? Are you feeling Super Bowl this year?
Oh, I heard that. That was not optimistic.
What you're hearing is the cat in the background that's just howling for whatever reason. You'll probably be seeing more of him as the season goes on, but we apologize collectively for the lack of content these days. One, it's been a lot of nothing in Chargers land in terms of news, and also we've had some things going on in our lives. So, what was I talking about? Receivers. That's right. I received a gift with my son. I have a boy now, which is wild. And the receivers on the Chargers team are going to be hopefully giving Justin Herbert some gifts this season. And I hope that Chargers fans, I don't want to say brace yourselves, right? But this feels to me, and I don't know if it's a hot take, but aside from Ladd, it kind of feels like a wide receiver by committee approach. I don't necessarily know if you're going to see a standout wide receiver 2 or 3 or 4. I know you're going to see a standout 1, I promise you that. But after that, I think the storyline for me is what does the wide receiver room look like? And how are they going to be activated? Is it going to be what we've seen before, where it's the Ladd show and then sprinkle dust everywhere else? Or is it going to be kind of a little bit more level playing field? And I think Ladd will still be wide receiver 1 again, but there's a lot of hype for Trey Harris. I understand. Excitement about Mike Williams and what he could possibly bring in terms of juice downfield. Justin Herbert talked about he changes how you play the game. Could Quentin Johnson level up? KLS, you haven't seen anything yet. Darius Davis, what's he going to be this year? There's a lot of questions and possibilities, but the storyline for me is what is this wide receiver room outside of Ladd McConkey? And what could they do that would change your feelings on them? If Quentin Johnson went out there and caught 15 deep balls over the shoulder with his hands, toe tap, is that going to change anyone's opinion until we see Quentin in a important, impactful play during the season? I don't know.
I'm interested in the wide receiver discussion, Dan, just because of the fact that now you're going to have, first of all, you have a lot better competition at wide receiver than what you had last year. And remember, last year, the Chargers kept 7 wide receivers on the 53-man roster, which is nuts. But that just shows you how devoid of talent that they really were. And they were trying to utilize every weapon possible to elevate some people on that particular position. Now, he brought back Mike Williams, who we know is going to have great rapport with Justin Herbert. The big thing for him is just stay healthy. He's going to be your downfield receiver. He can go up and get those 50-50 balls. That's great. We'd already know what Ladd McConkey's going to do. It's now going to be like, and this is probably why a lot of people are a little unnerving about the Trey Harris aspect, because
about the holdout.
Well, yeah, about the holdout, because
yeah,
he would be the one, because we saw the limitations of Quentin Johnston in a certain perspective last year, when literally you had nobody else that was going to be your X receiver. Again, that was supposed to be DJ Chark, and DJ Chark was seldomly seen last year. So Quentin Johnston had to step up in that role at times to handle those type of responsibilities. And hey, to his credit, final game of the season, of the regular season last year, he had a great ending to it. That was kind of his quote unquote breakout game. And he was running deep routes and he was catching balls like that we normally hadn't seen him catch. And then, unfortunately, 1 week later in the Houston Texans game, none of that really mattered. But you now have all of these pieces, and especially just them being young and new pieces, because ultimately the goal is, how is this going to open up more opportunities for Ladd McConkey and not have defenses key in on him? And going back to what Dan was talking about in terms of running that play action, having those situations where you throw the deep ball, Trey Harris and KLS can definitely contribute to that. So how is all of this going to round into form? It's going to be interesting to see it all play out. I'm excited for it.
For sure. And we'll see how it's deployed, right? Like, I think one of the storylines I wrote down for myself was, like, who's going to take the different archetype or roles on this team, right? Like, for the deep ball. And I think this was by design. The Chargers team added a ton of depth at this position, which is the theme as we continue forward. But deep ball, who's your go-to? Will be Mike, Trey, right? There are multiple options there. If you look at that Z route, who are you going to? Is it going to be, is it Quentin? Is it KLS? Is it Mike? I don't know. Right? In the slot, I mean, it's probably mostly Ladd, but got a lot of options there. Where does Darius play in this? I'm not sure. So there's options in depth, and I think it's going to be nice to kind of have that sleight of hand, if you will. Anything else on the receiver before we move on to the running back and talk about Najee Harris and company?
No, as far as the wide receiver goes, Dan, it's going to be a much different conversation that we're having about it this year than what we were last year. Because last year it was basically just like, okay, what is this wide receiver room? What is this wide receiver room? That was the question. We didn't know. There were so many unknowns. Mm-hmm. Quentin Johnston was coming into his second season after a rough rookie year. We didn't know what Ladd McConkey was at that point, even though we all figured that chemistry was going to gel with Justin Herbert quickly, which it did. And ultimately, Ladd ended up having a tremendous year. You expected stuff from DJ Chark. That didn't end up happening. You didn't. I think the infusion of Darius Davis into the offense, the little bit that we saw sprinkled of him in there, was, I don't want to say desperation, but you needed somebody else out there to catch the ball. And luckily in those moments, he did step up. Now it's a little bit different. Now you've placed another 2 selections of a rookie draft class on wide receivers. You bring in another veteran that has had plenty of years of chemistry with Justin Herbert. So I think that this wide receiver room is going to click a hell of a lot better and a hell of a lot quicker than what it did last year. And again, I revert back to Dan's point. Some of those plays in terms of opening up the offense are going to be there for Justin Herbert. It's going to be good.
Yep. Pepe Le Pew says we need a no fireworks hat to go along with the no elevators hat from Super Fahoko last year. Talk about a transition. Wild story. But apparently a bunch of folks got injured at a fireworks display, if you will, for 4th of July, including one Najee Harris. I believe it was his agent who said that all things should be fine for the season. But I think that's absolutely a headliner for this running back storyline is like, what are we going to see from Najee Harris just generally? And then specifically, like, what the hell? That's insane.
Look, number one, I'm just glad that, first of all, Najee's okay.
Yep.
That's first and foremost. Getting this obviously happened in mass. It wasn't something that just happened to him. And he suffered a eye injury. The severity of it, I still don't know all the particulars of it. But like you mentioned, it sounds like everything is going to be good for him for the regular season. But what does that mean in terms of his timing and getting into camp and getting some of those meaningful reps with a new team for himself?
Yeah, that was very specific, the way that the agent said he'll be ready for the regular season or whatever he said. It was like, what about camp? What about preseason?
Yeah. It doesn't, I mean, we think back to 10 years ago when Jason Pierre-Paul had the fireworks injury and lost 2.5 fingers for himself. Thankfully for him, he was able to make a comeback and, able to still produce even after that injury. But, it's a serious, scary situation. It sounds like the Chargers dodged a bullet, and more specifically, Najee Harris dodged one in this circumstance.
Dodged a firework. Yeah.
Happy that he is all right in this circumstance, but we'll see how much time that takes away from him training camp and preseason.
Yeah, Chris in the comments, apparently he's pissed off. I didn't go in detail about what happened with the Browns running back room. I'm not a Browns podcast, so if you care, go check a look at it. But off-field stuff, damning the Browns again. Let's see, Jake. Nobody is better at first down play action than Herbs, says Brad. Yep. And again, play action works when you have a running game. Look how good he is with a mediocre running game. Like last year, this Chargers run game, while it was better than years past, still wasn't great. There's a lot of bad covered up by some splash plays from JK. So this running back room needs a lot. But the Najee Harris news opens up the door. In theory, we'll see. For an Omarion Hampton, whose the door is probably already wide open, to be honest. For a Rocket Sanders. For someone to possibly make a splash if he's not out there. Like that's one other guy that can have an opportunity to go make plays. But that's a storyline too. Like, we're not going to know who's going to be RB1, 2, whatever. Like that part doesn't really matter. I think you're going to see Omarion and Najee Harris kind of be a 1-2 punch in the season. But what I think we will be looking forward to is splash plays from any other running back are going to be massive. If you see a splash play from or two from a Kamani Vidal or a Rocket Sanders or Hassan Haskins, you only have so many opportunities to put a stamp on your name and stamp on this camp. And that's a heated battle for RB3 and 4. If I had to guess, Hassan Haskins is probably 3 just based on previous success and notoriety within the organization with special teams and blocking and all that jazz.
Interesting.
But between Kamani Vidal, who needs help, needs improvement on the pass protection standpoint, Rocket Sanders, UDFA. I don't know. Competitors welcome. I don't think just because Kamani Vidal was drafted last year that he's a shoe-in to be RB3. Like, this is kind of like what have you done for me lately and what have you proven? And so far, as much as Chargers fans might not agree, like I think Hassan Haskins is the one that's proven the most.
Yeah, I would understand your reasonings behind experience, special teams value, for going with RB3. Ultimately, do I see that shaking out that way? I don't. Do I believe that? Back to your point is like, the time loss of Najee Harris is essentially the gain of Sanders, Vidal, and in this case, Haskins.
Mm-hmm.
To me, Dan, it's the battle for RB4.
Yeah.
Because that's ultimately who you're going to be. It's going to dwindle down to that. And I think it's between Kamani Vidal and Hassan Haskins when it comes down to it. And I think Hassan Haskins has the leg up in that circumstance because of the special teams value.
Wait, so who's 3?
You'll see.
Okay. No, so Rocket's gonna be 3?
I think that here's the thing about Rocket. Yes, I know we're just getting into training camp, and yes, we're talking about a guy who went undrafted, but there was a lot of juice behind Rocket Sanders during the pre-draft process. It's actually still fuzzy to me that nobody ended up picking him in the first 7 rounds. So this
also
is
a testament to how insane that running back class was.
Yes, you also hear about how this organization has talked about him thus far, and we didn't even get to training camp yet. Remember rookie OTAs? If you listen to those comments from Joe Ortiz, ultimately, I think over the next few weeks of training camp, and yeah, you could consider this a bold prediction, and that's totally fine. Let's get bold. This is what the offseason is for.
Not that bold, but it's like, oh, okay, you're high on him.
But I think by the time that we get to week 1, and it's specifically about certain packages and his skill set that brings to the table of what Sanders does, I think that's ultimately going to win them out. So yeah, when it comes to that, I think that ultimately Rocket Sanders is going to be the RB3.
I don't know, man. The one I think element to this running back room that I would put more stock into, especially this year, is this staff ain't stupid and the staff ain't blind. And you saw what happens when Justin Herbert can't be protected. I gotta think that this staff is going to be hell-bent on doing whatever the hell they can to protect Justin Herbert. Now, you can do that in many different ways, right? You can protect him with an offensive line, protect him with a bunch of weapons outside that can let him throw the ball faster. You can protect him with running backs out of the backfield or with a run, But in my opinion, clearly they want a running game. Clearly they want to protect Justin Herbert. If you don't do both of those as running back, I don't think you make the team, period. And right now, Kamani Vidal doesn't do both. Or at least he hasn't, I should say. So in my opinion, the guys who are going to make this room are going to be the ones that can run and protect. You have to do both. Because there are guys in this room who can. So I could be wrong, but that's where I have a feeling it's going to go. But we'll see. We'll see. Any other storylines for the running back group?
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, the linebacker v running back drills are going to be sick. Those are going to be sick. Tight end, Jake. I'm excited, man.
You got a lot to say about this position.
I'm excited, man. I've been high on Oronde Gadsden from the jump. I think this kid has it. And also you pair that with the success historically of Joe Ortiz with late round tight end selections. Pair that with a trade up to get him. Pair that with the production that he's had and showcase proven production. Transfer from wide receiver to tight end. On top of the proven success and production of Tyler Conklin, right? Like Tyler Conklin hasn't been an all-pro, Pro Bowl tight end, right? But hell, he's been more consistent than any other tight end this Chargers team has had since maybe Hunter Henry. Like, literally. I think it's 4 straight 50 catch, 500-yard seasons. Something like that. Pair that with a Disley who can actually still really, really, really protect Justin Herbert. Let him do what he does best. We'll see what happens with Tucker Fisk. There's some other guys, UDFAs, that could be interesting, but those top two, from a pass-catching athleticism perspective, have been, in my opinion, leaps and bounds better than what they've had in the past. Like, the only reason why they had some last year was because of Stone Smart. And I like Stone Smart, but that's what you're relying on to be your tight end, what, 1 or 2 as a pass catcher? A little bit better this year.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say so, Dan. No, I thought the Chargers did a really good job of fortifying the tight end room. You get Will Dissly back into what he does best in terms of being that blocking tight end that you could sparingly use as a pass catching option when you need him to. You do not need him to be your primary pass catching option. Tucker Fisk, we know, is a solid blocking tight end. So in those 12 personnel packages, those guys are going to be able to do some damage together. But what you've done going out and getting a guy like Tyler Conklin in free agency, and then of course drafting a Rondé Gadsden, Dan, you talk about pass catchers, more importantly, contested catching options, which Rondé Gadsden was fantastic at in college. And there's a reason why he's essentially just set foot on the football field and set it on fire.
Also stayed there from like 4 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Yes.
or whatever.
Yes. And from what we've heard is, he's not a big flashy guy, doesn't end up, isn't one of the type of people that likes the noise or talking to the media about what he does. He just likes being quiet and doing the work and putting it in and letting his, football ability speak for themselves when he gets out on the football field. Now, yes, I know we haven't put pads on yet, but when the standout rookie of rookie minicamp and OTAs is a 5th round tight end, I think that's something to be taken notice of, for sure. So I think that there's going to be more expectations than many of us probably had a couple months ago as it relates to Rondé Gadsden, but more importantly, this tight end room. What did I call it, Dan, last week when we were talking about the movie titles? You remember what I called it?
No.
The 5th element. It's an element that has been missing from this Chargers offense. So there's a lot to be excited about as it relates to this tight end room in general.
Moving on to the offensive line. Like, I'm not even putting Justin Herbert in this because we know what Justin Herbert is. The guy's a freak, and he's going to be outstanding. Again, at the top, health. That's really all I care about. Everything else with him, we'll RPOs we're going to see, all that. Like, I honestly, just get to week 1 healthy for Justin. I trust everything else. Offensive line definitely has some storylines. And I think the low-hanging fruit, obviously, the center left guard position, the Rashawn Slater extension is clearly something to watch for. I'm not worried about that, at all. 0% worried. Okay, 1%, because you can't be 0 because he's not signed. But the dude is committed to this team. He's talked about it. He's been out there. It's just a matter of time. The center left guard position will work itself out. Curious to see how that goes with pads on. I'm sure Jesse Minter and company are going to do a whole bunch of things, start trying to confuse them, put them under stress. So they can figure out what the best combo is. But to me, I think the biggest storyline, and I don't know how much of this we'll be able to see in camp, but this staff has always told us who they are and what they're going to do. And to me, one of the, I think, things that have gone under the radar was when Jim Harbaugh talked about this is going to be a right-handed team. Historically, the Chargers offensive line or the Chargers run game or pass protection, whatever, has been a left-handed team. Whether that's through pass protection, run blocking. But apparently, according to Jim Harbaugh, with Mekhi Becton now here at right guard, Joe Alt now here looking new and improved, which is crazy because he was already pretty insane his first year. He seems pretty hell-bent on going right. Historically, we've seen what happens when this Chargers team goes right.
It's not good.
So that's a storyline that I'm very intrigued by. If this Chargers team can actually be successful, which they should be. But again, I go back to Greg Roman. Imagine Justin Herbert with the run game. Imagine Justin Herbert with pass protection. Imagine this running game with effective run blocking, physicality. Like, that's the story that I'm looking forward to. Is if the right side is what we think it is, and you got that line with Will Dissly blocking alongside of you, with a Najee Harris and Omarion Hampton behind you, that's a force, dude.
I don't think you're putting enough emphasis as to how long we've potentially been waiting for the right side of that line to get fortified, Dan.
Yeah, I know.
You can make an argument that we've been waiting for the better part of 20 years to get that right side fortified, which is insane, all things considered. And when you think about the, tackle windmill that has been between right tackle or right guard with all the players that have come in and out of that position over the last couple of years through all the different head coaches, it's crazy just to think about the turnstile that's happened at that particular part of the offensive line. And Dan, I've told you this before when we've gone out to training camp. I said it last year when it was Joe Alt's rookie year. But when he was in some formations with Jamari Sawyer standing right next to him during practice, I'm just like, God, these dudes are just big, big men.
Yep.
I am so stoked to see what it's going to look like now when it's Joe Alt and Mekhi Becton standing right next to one another. I've said it before. I think that they're the Eclipse duo because they're going to cast a shadow basically on the right side of the field when they're out there. They're just so big and so strong. But to your point, Dan, how many of the successful runs for the Chargers and J.K. Dobbins specifically was to the left side versus the right side? I mean, there was no comparison. No comparison. You could finally actually have some versatility in the direction that your running back is going to run and produce positive yards. Crazy to think that. Now, outside of that, how does the center left guard situation shake out? Well, we heard Jim Harbaugh talk about, I think it was Popper that actually asked him the question, like, how long would it take him to make his final decision?
Yeah.
On what that formation was actually going to be. And he said about 8 to 10 days into camp, he should know exactly what it's going to look like. And for me personally, let's just all brace and maybe start accepting the idea that Zion Johnson is going to be your center. I do not believe that you are going to run it back with Bradley Bozeman at center and Zion Johnson at left guard, as it was last year. You have enough negative film from that to say something needs to change. So,
question on that though. You've seen, and this is the life of an offensive lineman is tough, right? Like, you get beat once or twice a game and you're on every highlight film on SportsCenter if it's going against a good defensive edge, right? Like, that's tough. But we talk about there was a lot of bad on film, but there was some good too. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's so easy to say, oh, they sucked all season. Where like there were glimpses where they were good, and then there were pieces where they were very bad. So I think the staff is wanting to get the good more, clearly. But I guess ceiling versus floor, do you think that the ceiling only goes so high with that same squad at center and left guard?
100%.
Okay.
100%. Because the Houston game is really all that you need to look at. The Houston playoff game is basically all the bad of those particular type of situations with the offensive line that at certain times, as you were saying, maybe were masked during the regular season because someone else was able to pick up the rope on those particular plays and they were able to get positive yards out of it. But you can't look at that Houston Texans game and say, yeah, we're going to run it back just with the same starting five with the exception of Mekhi Becton and expect different results. You can't do that. You cannot do that. So I've slowly started to come around on this idea that Zion Johnson is in fact going to be the starting center. Now, is it something that I'm confident in, that's a different conversation. For a guy who's never played center in his entire professional career, even in going back to college, it's definitely something that you question. Joe Ortiz and Jim Harbaugh have a lot of confidence in Zion Johnson to do this. Dan mentioned it earlier. Jim Harbaugh and Joe Ortiz are actually very transparent in terms of what they do and telling us what they do and actually carrying it out to fruition. I think that they are 100% believe that Zion Johnson can be the starting center for this team. I truly felt that Andre James, given his pedigree and time at center, that ultimately the combination was going to be Andre James at center and kick Zion Johnson back out to left guard, and let's see how he plays out. And this was before the Chargers had not installed the fifth year option on his contract. So he's in a contract year now. Mm-hmm. So what do you do? So it's either going to be Zion Johnson at center and Bradley Bozeman at left guard, or there's going to be a different left guard playing next to Zion Johnson by the time that we hit week 1. It's going to be a very, very interesting number of weeks of training camp as it relates to this offensive line. And this particular storyline is probably going to be the top one that everybody's going to watch.
Jay, you got to pinch me. We have reached the point in this AFC West storyline where everyone is collectively banding together to beat the Chiefs. We've got folks in the chat. Chris for Raiders podcasts. All I know is we need to dethrone the Chiefs. And that's a we. Raiders fan and Chargers fans unite. Imagine that. Somebody do it. Somebody, please. and Chris, thanks for the shout out. You guys have a great show. Just sub to my rivals. Appreciate you. AZ Bull Gang. Been a minute. How you doing, buddies? Good morning, you handsome sumbitches. Can you say that in your accent, Jake? You're great with accents.
What accent?
Pick one.
What accent do I have?
You're good at accents.
Yeah, I just don't have like a go-to one that I go to. I do voices, Dan. I don't necessarily do accents.
Okay, John Travolta.
What are you talking about? Like Grease accent? Like sure. John Travolta really doesn't have an accent.
Yeah, give me that one.
You'd have to do like the whole like when he's talking to Sandy for the first time.
Yep.
Good morning, you handsome sons of bitches.
There he goes.
What's going on with me, baby? What's going on with you?
Okay, by request, Jake. Now someone's asking for a country accent.
That was a very weird request, by the way, for John Travolta.
Country accent, Jake.
Good morning, you handsome sons of bitches. It's whatever, dude. Like, you want me to do it in a better voice? Okay. Oh, good morning, you handsome sons of bitches.
Thank you.
There, is that the one that you were looking for?
Yes, that's better.
That's the one that I do a little bit better.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Bulldog PS is just the king of voices. I would love to just do like a 20-minute segment with him and the guys at Chargers chat of just dueling conversations between voices. It'd be great.
Dick of the Kicker said, did I just hear Danny Zuko? Yes, you did.
Yeah. Dan decides to give me, say that line in a John Travolta voice. Like, what voice? The only other one I know is Danny Zuko.
Sounded like Stewie from Family Guy.
That's precisely who it was.
Yes, Brad. Oh, look, we've only made it 49 minutes. Show it's getting weird. Brad's taking another bong hit, probably. Look, the offensive line, it has some questions, but I do have faith in this Chargers staff to know that they can't freaking run this thing back. Like, they just can't. And whether that's with running back room being improved, the tight end room being improved, offensive line bringing Mekhi Becton, Andre James for depth. Maybe there's another ace up their sleeve and they bring another free agent who's still out there for offensive line help. Something's got to change because the results from last year were not good enough. It was not good enough. And for a Jim Harbaugh style offense specifically, that was not good enough. Branson Taylor, hopefully he can step up, says Pepe Le Pew. But again,
for depth purposes, yes.
Exactly.
I hope that that's the case.
I hope we're not relying on Branson Taylor to be our savior. No offense to Branson Taylor, but he's a late round rookie. When's the last time a late round rookie has led a Super Bowl challenging team That's tough.
Dan, don't start that because Kansas City
Late
knows
round,
that all too
late
well.
round, late round.
Knows that. Hey, I don't care. Trey Smith shouldn't have been taken where he was taken, and he was. And look how that turned out.
Fair.
And
All right,
to circle back one last thing on this, because I will admit, for the Chargers being in the situation that they are in with the offensive line, we'll see how the next few weeks plays out. The Chargers are not averse to bringing in free agents or anybody that gets let go from other teams at that point in time. So we don't know what's going to happen. But at the same time, and I've said this on the show since the draft, I did expect them to address the offensive line just a little bit more, and more specifically the center position. Now, the center position in general was diluted from talent for a number of different reasons from that particular rookie class. Players making the decision to go back to college, players who suffered unfortunate injuries late in the season. And so you had that pool of really good center prospects got smaller and smaller and smaller. But at the same time, given what happened in that Houston game, I did expect them to address it a little bit more. Now it's in the past. This is where we're at. And I think when we finally get down to it, your starting five combination is going to be Rashawn Slater, player X at left guard, Zion Johnson, Mekhi Becton, and Joe Alt.
Interesting. Okay. Let's switch over. Defense. Jake, defensive line. Now, this is an interesting one because I feel like on one hand, you're looking for kind of the glow up from the edge position, and you're hoping to kind of keep the same with Khalil Mack, right? But a lot on the shoulders of Tuli Tupelo this season. Bud Dupree signs an extension. Kyle Canard there, SEC Defensive Player of the Year last year. So I think there's some hope for potential, quote unquote, for the edge position. But then on the interior defensive line position, it's like, it feels like there is a log jam. There are so many dudes at interior defensive line. And you've heard the coaching staff talk about this defensive line is more athletic. It's bigger. They think it's better. How is that going to be platooned? That's a big question for me. How is this defensive line, especially the interior, like what will that look like? Because there's just like 8 dudes, easy, that could make this squad.
Let's start with the edge position and get that out of the way. I think that's pretty set and concrete for what we expect that's going to look like, whether we're talking about depth chart or guys who are going to end up making the final roster. This is Tuli's opportunity to really elevate. We always were wondering what was going to be that life after Joey Bosa. Now you're in a situation, well, okay, you got that now, but what's it going to be after Khalil Mack is gone? And this is the window, and this is the opportunity for Tuli to really show that. We all love Tuli. We all know what he's about in terms of getting after the quarterback, which he has shown that he can do very, very well. But now getting in a starting role, and you go back and you look at some of just the inconsistencies that he had in year 2 as opposed to his first rookie season. There's things that to his game that he does need to elevate. It's the opportunity to do it now. And I'm very excited to see what a pass rusher of his capability is able to do with a full-time starter's job. You know how much Jesse Minter loves Tuli in this defense. And to pair him next to Khalil Mack, I think that they can really do some damage together. More importantly, Dan, you remember how excited I was about the Kyle Canard pick. I think Kyle Canard, for what his MO was at South Carolina, is exactly what this Chargers edge room needs. Speed rusher, third down rusher, go get the quarterback. That is what Kyle Canard can do. I think it's a good linchpin how you round out this starting 4 of your edge group rotation. Now, admittedly, I would love to see a little bit more of an opportunity for Tremont Morris-Brash because he's got a lot of those similar elements to what Kyle Canard brings to the game. And he got a chance to flash in last year's training camp. So I think when it still comes down to it, you still keep 4 edge players on the roster. But I would love to see an opportunity for Tremont Morris-Brash to elevate himself. Now, going to the logjam that is the defensive line, this is essentially replacing the production of Poona Ford with 3 key players in this circumstance. I think you're going to see a much heavier rotation for this defensive line than what you didn't see last year. And so if we're talking about, Tyler Tart is going to have to basically not only elevate his game, but kind of become that leader and that veteran of the locker room.
And that Poona Ford presence along with Caldwell, for sure.
Yes. Now, it's good that you went out and you got other veteran presence in Deshaun Hand. And why do I always keep forgetting? Who is it, Dan? Thank you. Remind
Sweat.
me. No, not Sweat.
What?
The other free agent acquisition for the Chargers defensive line that I always keep forgetting. Help me out here. Stop embarrassing me.
I'm going to let you ride this one.
Wow, you suck. Okay, moving on from that, since Dan chooses not to be a team player, you go out and you select Jamari Caldwell in the 3rd round. Mixed in with there, you have Justin Ebogbe, who a lot of people have expectations on. We've heard that from the coaching staff for him. Essentially, he had a redshirt year after being selected in the 4th round last year. And then you mix in Tito to that mix. So what's these starting snaps going to look like? What's this rotation going to look like? Because you have a lot of guys who, I think when you look at Tito, the biggest thing about him is that what he's good at is being a run defender. You could probably say the same thing about Justin Ebogbe. It may be a little bit early because we haven't really gotten the opportunity to see him that much, but he does have some pass rush juice. And Jamari Caldwell, there's reason to be excited about him because he's a little versatile. He can do a lot of good in different areas. But how is the rotation going to shake out when you've got 3 veterans ahead of you? What is that rotation going to look like along the defensive line? What type of packages is Jesse Minter going to call up for that?
And I will go down on the ship with you, Jake. I'm a little delirious and could not at all for the life of me remember the name is either. Naquan Jones.
Thank you.
Deshaun Hand.
Thank you.
So we're in this together, Jake. I'm not going to let you go down by yourself. I'm
sure, because you remembered the name and picked me up when I'm drowning before, but you didn't remember it this time.
Didn't remember that time. I'm sorry. I was like Rose. You were Jack. Just kicked you off.
Yeah, there was room on the door, bitch. Okay, you let me drown.
I'm so sorry. Alex says Canard is going to be the late round steal. He's going to be this year's Tar Heel. I mean, sign me up. That'd be sweet. I'm down. I'm curious what Jamari Caldwell brings this season. The staff was high on him, and hiring him in the league that's for sure. Hiring him, a lot of draft analysts were as well. But again, I think this was kind of like a targeted missile strike for what this Chargers defensive line needed. We'll see. Lots of fun stuff. I'm curious what the stunts look like with this new group of bigger size individuals.
That's one aspect that I think that you're going to see, Dan, is the athleticism aspect of the defensive line that maybe wasn't there previously. I think that you're going to have that with elevated snaps for Justin Ebogbe and especially with Jamari Caldwell. And that's going to make things interesting as it relates to the rotation.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So lots to be excited about on that. But that's going to kind of feel like I'm trying to think of what position group had those type of elements last year to what this defensive line storyline is going to be from this year.
Who do you think will be the unsung hero for the interior this year?
Unsung hero?
Yeah. Last year, I think it was Poona Ford. but like you weren't expecting. I mean, he was sung by the end of the season, but going into it, you had no idea that was going to be the case.
You know, I'm going to be bold here, and I'm going to say Justin Ebogbe might be the unsung hero of the defensive line by the time it all shakes out. I do. I think just because of the fact that he's very strong, very athletic. Again, predominantly dominates when it relates to being a run stuffer. But I think when you're going to be in the rotation that the Chargers are going to be in, and again, when you've heard about the work that he has put in specifically in the offseason, what the coaches have said about him, I think that there's a lot of opportunity for him to elevate his game. And again, we haven't even seen him yet because he really didn't step foot on the field in a redshirt season. But something's telling me that he's going to turn a lot of heads.
That'd be fun. Linebackers, Jake. Pumped to see what Junior Colson looks like healthy.
Gotta be.
I was very bullish on Junior Colson as a rookie. Felt that he had the chance to bring the most value to a defense of any other rookie drafted, given all the context of him, Michigan, Jesse Minter, this defense, et cetera, et cetera. Fortunately, injuries kind of derailed him at the beginning and in the season and was kind of behind the 8 ball ever since. Now, he's got a chance to shine. And this Chargers defense with Deion Henley and what we think Junior Colson can be, that will feed families.
That combination of Junior Colson and Deion Henley has all the potential to become the most athletic linebacker duo in the entire NFL. All of it. Because Junior Colson, despite really not playing much in his rookie season due to, injuries and other off the field procedures that needed to be done for him, mentally, he knows this defense inside and out, back to front. He will not need a ramp-up period. He just needs a health period.
Mm-hmm.
And from all indications that we've gotten for Junior and the expectations and coming into this point in camp, he's ready to roll. So I am so excited because Junior Colson's football IQ at the linebacker position is fantastic. And to pair that with the physicality and field general mindset that Deion Henley has brought to the table already in year 2, think about what that combination is going to be like.
Yeah, and sprinkle in, hopefully, Denzel Perryman healthy. I think you want him to be there on like a snap count, so to speak, to kind of limit the possibility of him getting hurt. I think Troy Dye has a lot of potential as well. Staff was high on him last year.
Stepped in at certain times last year during regular season snaps where he really came to it. It wasn't just special teams that he contributed on.
Yep. Wasn't he the one that had that interception in the end zone? I forget who it was, but he sealed the game. He sealed the game on a tip interception to end it. I want to say it was on a 4th down play at the end of the game. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure it was him. Muwaga, people are excited for as well. A lot of people have talked about him. Linebacking core should be a strength of this team. Should be a strength. Now, I think probably the storyline, Jake, that's going to have the most fireworks, arguably, will be the DB room. And safeties a little, but I'm just lumping it together as DBs. That, to me, is going to be intense. And you look at the receiver versus them, like, that's brutal. That's brutal. Pepe Le Pew, Jake, is that black nail polish or did you smash your finger? I absolutely smashed my finger. It's healing, though. It took forever, but finally it's healing to where, like, it's actually getting towards the middle of my fingernail. That's what happens when you try to install hardwood floors for the first time. LVP, shout out. Jake,
you should have just leaned into it, Dan. Like, I'm going through.
I should have just painted the rest of them.
Harkening back to my punk rock ages. And you should have just painted the rest of them.
That's what I should have done. Okay, guess which one I hurt. You'll never know. I'll never tell.
There it is.
This DB battle is going to be absolutely insane, which you want to see. Like, that's a good thing, right? But the storylines kind of are endless, right? Can Cam Hart bounce back with his stellar rookie season, stay healthy, ascend year 2? Can Tarheeb still continue that trajectory, become like that dominant corner that the Chargers fans now kind of expect? What happens with Dean Leonard? What are we going to see from the likes of... There's a bunch, man. Like there's a lot. There's a lot. Like, I think people have dismissed Ja'Sir Taylor. Unjustly so, in my opinion. I think he's battling injury. Right? You got 2 free agents that were brought in that are probably expecting to start or at least have numerous snaps. You've got free agent, UDFA, excuse me. You've got RJ Mickens. There's a bunch of dudes here all trying to get in here. I forget the name of that UDFA that you love, but
Nico Reed.
Like, there's a lot of guys, and historically, 10 is the max.
See, I help you out when you don't forget when you forget names.
Thank you. We stay on that door together with you. Look, I don't think they're going to have more than 10, but if you do the math of the guys that you know are not leaving, and then how many options are available yet to fill out that 10, that's tough. Again, Alohi Gilman, Derwin James, that's 2. Elijah Molden, 3. And then we'll just go the other way around. We got Cam Hart, 4. Tarheeb still 5. Are there any others that you're for sure going to have? I'd like to think Tony Jefferson, but I don't know. I would think RJ Mickens. I'm not sure. Ja'Sir Taylor, probably. I'm not sure. Dean Leonard, probably. I'm not sure. But that list goes on and on and on. And there's only so many guys you can keep. Dante Jackson. I mean, those free agents are staying. People are going to be upset with the guys that aren't making this squad in this room. It's going to be tough, but also it's going to be a testament to how good this room has gotten.
I'm really excited about the battle at the cornerback position, Dan. I think the safety position is pretty much solidified. And I do believe that when it comes down to final cuts, that you're only going to keep 4 on the final 53. Derwin, Molden, Gilman, and Jefferson.
There might be a flex if you do like an RJ Mickens type.
Could be a flex. But ultimately, as we've seen through the last several years of what the final 53-man roster looks like, traditionally it is 6 corners and 4 safeties that you keep. So I think the safeties are pretty well intact for what you've done through free agency, being it the acquisition of trading for Elijah Molden last year, obviously keeping Alohi Gilman because Jesse Minter loves those 3 safety sets. It only makes utilization of Derwin James that much more versatile and having him play closer to the line. And a veteran presence like Tony Jefferson. That is a solid group for your safety position. It really is. Now, I would love to see RJ Mickens somehow mixed into this bunch.
Yeah.
But I think because of the level of competition that you have at the DB spot in general, it's going to be tough. Now, Ja'Sir Taylor and Dean Leonard, I think, are the 2 that you have to watch out for in terms of the possibilities that their roster spot could be the ones that are on alert. Now, for Ja'Sir Taylor, you have the emergence of Tarheeb Still that you had last year that essentially solidified him as your starting slot corner. You have Cam Hart, who, outside of the concussions that he suffered, stepped into that role pretty nicely for being a 5th-round rookie. So Ja'Sir Taylor, where he's great at right now is when it comes to special teams play.
But you say the same thing for Dean Leonard.
You could say the same thing for Dean Leonard, but at the same time, when you have these other cornerbacks in the room, you're going to need to find some other ways to contribute than just that. I know that special teams is kind of like the quickest way for guys to get on this roster. But just, again, think about the moves that have been made. This is on top of having a season where your 5th-round cornerbacks and Tarheeb Still and Cam Hart played terrific for you in their rookie season. You went out and you got 2 more veteran free agent corners in Benjamin St-Juste, Dante Jackson. You also go out and you use in the undrafted free agent pool, you get Nico Reed, who I love out of Oregon. I think there's a lot of potential. Yes, I think there's a lot of potential that he could step in. Even for him being undersized, Nico Reed's instincts, click and close ability when he's going after the football is terrific. So I think that he's definitely going to be in the mix of things. You mentioned Tarheeb Bridges, talk about a big-bodied defensive back. Mm-hmm. That's something you can't teach.
It's also a special teams ace too.
You can try to coach it, but you can't teach those type of measurables. That's for sure. So I think when it comes down to it, those are the 2 that I'm looking at.
So real quick though, like let's just do this exercise for a second, because I think if we pull this string, it's where it gets interesting. Are we both in agreement that the 4 make it? St-Juste, Jackson, Hart, Still, like clearly, right?
I do, because St-Juste and Jackson were brought in specifically for what they do in zone coverage.
Okay, so that's 4
to fit Jesse Minter's scheme. Yes,
so that's 4 there, plus the 4 safeties that you talked about. So that's 8. There's 2 spots left.
Yep.
There's 2 spots left, and you've got R.J. Mickens, you've got Trikweze Bridges, you've got Dean Leonard, Jasir Taylor, Nico Reed. That's 5. I know I'm missing one. Did I say Mickens already?
Yes, you did.
Okay, so which of those, let's just say 2. Mickens, Reed, Taylor, Leonard, Bridges.
I mean,
that's the exercise.
Let's not be naive. As of right now, Jasir Taylor and Dean Leonard have those spots because they've been with this team, because they've been in this defense, and because their contributions on special teams. As of right now, they have those spots. But as it progresses, if we're talking about, as we've talked about with other positions in terms of elevating depth for this roster, you may have to do more than just be relegated to special teams. And truth be told, we've seen Jasir Taylor, even as the backup slot cornerback, you've seen what that looks like to go from Tarheeb Still to Jasir Taylor in some of those spots. Just saying, I think there may not be a more fierce competition for roster spots than it is for the cornerback room specifically over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, this is going to be brutal, man. This will be cutthroat. And like either way, right? You're going to hear narratives shift. Let's say it ends up being where Trikweze Bridges is on the outside looking in. Oh my gosh, Chargers wasted a draft pick. How dare that? Like, that was a waste. Joe Ortiz missed. Or Jasir Taylor is no longer there. Like, oh, finally, they got rid of Jasir Taylor. He sucked. When, like, in reality, he didn't really suck. He was hurt for most of it. Let's say one of the free agents goes, Dante Jackson or Benjamin St-Juste. Oh, they wasted money. Like, no matter what, there's going to be a narrative that the Chargers screw something up. But that really isn't what this staff cares about. It's like, just get the best squad. And so there will be some cutthroat decisions. And you mentioned it. I think corner is probably going to be the one that's might be the bloodiest. And you're hoping you could stash some of the practice squad, right? That's going to come into it. Who do you think will stay? Who has the name recognition that maybe other teams might take up? But that's the position I'm bracing for a tear to be shed when someone's let go. Because someone's going to go that I really like. I really hope it's not Dean Leonard, though. I don't think he's gotten really a fair shake at providing what he can do. And I like his size, man. He's got that Cam Hart archetype. If you had to guess right now, we know the 8 corners and safeties combined. Who are the 2 that ends up making it? It's basically 2 options in like 5 or 6 guys gunning for it. This is tough, right?
It's tough. It's tough.
So let's use this then. This Chargers like Steve Klink scale, Jesse Mitchell, they talk about. I think flexibility is a huge one, right? Special teams will be big. So if you go off of just talent, fit, who's flexible and who can provide on special teams, just go off of those criteria. Who do you think that's it? Who do you think that is?
The only thing that's for sure right now is that you give the special teams nod to Jasir Taylor and Dean Leonard.
Yeah.
That's it. Outside of that, I think that when you talk about some of the other guys that we had mentioned, there are some athletic ability and instincts that those guys have over Jasir Taylor and Dean Leonard, in my opinion. But it's different when you get into training camp. It's different when you're coming into a defense for the first time. Experience and special teams resume, that's where Jasir Taylor and Dean Leonard have the leg up. But ultimately, I think something's going to shift with one or two of their spots by the time that we end training camp.
Whew. That's going to be nuts. So, look, we tried to go through some of the most important storylines, maybe some that were a little underspoken, some that maybe aren't given enough juice, if you will. But in the end, I think you have to be excited for this to start. Chargers to get a leg up, start a week early, right? You got football this month for this team, going against the Lions, Hall of Fame game. I'm curious to see like what second year training camp looks like for this Chargers team compared to year one. Like you heard the staff talk about like, oh, we're worlds better in the mic'd up. We're worlds better this year at this time than we were last year. I think it was Greg Roman talking about that to Jim Harbaugh. But I'm curious, just optics, like what this looks like, how the camps are laid out, what the position group drills are going to look like this year, what kind of just like the intricacies of it. Like you saw stuff last year that you haven't seen in NFL teams, in NFL camps. I mean, you're looking at some of those drills with like the receivers coming in and out of the shades.
He was already bringing that back during OTAs. So expect to see it again in training camp.
You're seeing huge like signs that you see harken back to like college days to help offensive play, defensive come out. Like what Jim Harbaugh isms are we going to see? This year, you already saw the patches come out. Like that's new, right? Like I'm just along for the ride. I'm along for the ride. You know, we didn't talk special teams, but I think you've got 2 out of 3 on lock with Harris and Dicker. This team is very high on J.K. Scott and the moonshots he gives. We'll see. I guess returner is another one. Like I'm pretty confident Darius Davis has that on lock, but like who's going to be behind him? You know, last year you saw at times it was Ladd, but you know, would it be a Jalen Reagor? Would it be a KLS? I don't know. I don't know. Anything else? Any other, I guess, little breadcrumbs before we get out of here?
Man, I don't think that I can talk about this enough, and you can just say this is like the purest that's coming out of me as it relates to just football returning. You've heard my statements when it comes to like this time of the year. You know, I'm not the biggest NBA guy. So you have the NBA finals that go off, the Stanley Cup playoffs that go off. It's right around this time where you're just itching for football to return, that you need football to come back. And I can't tell you how cool it is to be in that training camp environment, to see everybody that is in the stands supporting this team, especially in the Bolt, for God's sakes, for us all that experienced it last year. It's just such a awesome practice facility that they have for themselves. But there's just something about football in the summertime, right before preseason. I always go back to the line that Denzel Washington drops in Remember the Titans when it's like right before the first game and he walks out on the field. He's like, this is my sanctuary right here. It's like, yeah, like, let's go. Football's coming back.
We're here.
Let's get to work.
We're here. First time going to the Bolt this year. Yeah, seriously, Chargers fans, this place is legendary. Like, go there and you're going to wish that you lived there. Honestly, it's so nice. It's fun. The environment's great. Like, go to camp, especially a Jim Harbaugh camp. Like, they make it fun, man. It's a good deal. And it's all business. It is all business. Like, there was no music last year. We'll see if that happens this year. We'll have time here in the coming weeks to talk about the Hall of Fame game. Lots of people in the comments asking about our thoughts there. We'll get there. But this show, we just want to dedicate it to camp, what we think are the biggest storylines and what we're excited for. Again, all of this is predicated on health. All the wood is being knocked, right? Like we've all done this. We're all putting up the voodoo dolls. We've got all our things, making sure that this goes right. But Alex says it. Look at what this Chargers fan base was going into, let's say 2 years ago. Then last year, the hopium was at an all-time high. And say what you will about the Texans game, like this Chargers team delivered, right? 11 wins. Yeah, the schedule was a lot easier, but to go from, 5 wins to 11 wins, a playoff berth, a defense that goes from arguably one of the worst to one of the best, a coaching staff that is revered. You bring back Jesse Minter. Jim Harbaugh is still your guy. Now you got a bunch of dudes on offense that could be weapons. Another year in the system. Continuity in the staff. Still got Justin. Like, there's a lot to be excited about. So Brad says business is about to pick up. Max says business is booming. Last words before we get out of here, Jake, on this Sunday morning on the West Coast.
I'll keep the business trend going. Let's get down to business.
To defeat the Han?
What? What did you say? I didn't hear you.
To defeat.
Oh, Dan throwing in a Disney reference. Well done.
Yep.
Just accentuate that a little bit more next time. Don't just whisper it.
That's all I needed was a careless whisper. Look, this will be fun. We're excited for training camp to begin. We'll see all you guys at camp as this goes on. And Jake is now laughing directly at me. So that's awesome.
Football needs to come back so Dan and I can stop talking about bullshit like this. There you go.
Oh, man. Thanks for tuning in to Chargers Unleashed. If you haven't done so already, please hit that like and subscribe. Helps out a ton. Until we talk to you next time. That's Jake. I'm Dan. This is The Weekend. We'll talk to you next time on Chargers Unleashed.